I don't think the world needs more clothes, if I'm being honest. I was quite intentional about building a brand that is ethical beyond just like a checkpoint of like, is this organic cotton? The problem with stereotypes is not that they are untrue, is that they are incomplete. They make the one story become the only story.
Shahd AlShehail is the founder, CEO, and creative director of Abadia, the Saudi label she founded back in 2019. And if you spent any time around the Gulf's fashion scene lately, you already know the name. A designer building quiet, deliberate luxury on her own terms, one artisan, one collection, and one chapter at a time.
Saudi is a diverse country with diverse backgrounds and diverse stories, and that's the beauty of it. I always envisioned that this brand is going to be here for 100 years.
Do you feel like you've made it? It's such a bad term to say, but have you made it? Finally. I'm so excited, Shahd, to have you on this podcast. I have been trying to get you on for years.
It's been a while.
But girl, you've been busy.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy to do it now because you're hitting your 10-year mark, right? This year, 2026, is that right?
Younger. I think we'll be 7.
Oh, really?
7.
I thought it was 2016. Okay.
I kind of mark our age with Rashid's age because Abadia started when... like soon after I gave birth to him. So yeah, it was like...
well, that makes it easier.
Yeah.
Okay, so not 10 yet.
Not 10 yet, but like hopefully again we get to sit down when it's 10 years old.
Well, yeah, it's a date. We'll definitely do that. But I do want to go back talking about the very beginning because I was doing some research about you, and the symbol of your brand is born a little bit from where you grew up. You grew up in like the biggest date place in the world, is that right? Tell me more.
It's the largest date palm oasis in the world, and it's on the eastern province of Saudi Arabia. So I was surrounded by palm tree farm culture. There's a lot of rituals to it that really stuck with me, and I was so close to my grandmother, who like took me under her wing and showed me a lot of that. And so it kind of bleeds into a lot of our work with Abadia, for sure. There's a sense of nostalgia there and, you know, beauty and connection to heritage that is kind of, you know, a thorough line that we keep. And it definitely comes from that upbringing.
Well, I remember it was definitely an emblem. The seed was part of what Abadia started with, that kind of that roots in your own heritage. That was a beautiful... does that continue to be a touch point for you then?
It is. It's kind of become a symbol for the brand. It's always our buttons. We also have it in pins and accessories. But it kind of became this like visual symbol of Abadia. It was actually... right at the start that I thought about it, and it was a story very much connected to my grandmother. She passed away when I was in college, and I had a really special relationship with her and missed her dearly. And I remember that summer specifically, I was thinking about her and her rituals and how to kind of bring something that felt quite tangible and connected to my relationship with her. So I started to collect actually the seeds. So every time someone would have dates at home, I'm like collecting them, and we started to pile them up, and I would look at them and try to like experiment, and it just hit me one day that I needed to mold them and make them into these kind of lasting, like beautiful emblem of sign of prosperity, of good luck, of generosity, of our culture. And so that kind of became synonymous with Abadia now.
Yeah, very true, very true. One of the things I love about your origin story is that you, like me, kind of came into fashion, you know, not from a traditional, I love fashion from when I was little and I want to do this my whole life. Before we go into that aha moment, let's call it, all props to Oprah Winfrey, talk to me about when you first understood the power of fashion or the importance of garments in and of itself.
Yeah, I think that is one of the most important things about clothes, right, is that they have the power of creating connections and storytelling across culture, no matter where you're from, you're interested and can experience them in a very, very real way, similar to food. It's really is kind of a universal language that it has. And so I personally, like a lot of girls growing up, loved fashion and loved clothes and loved dressing up and enjoyed it all, but never imagined myself to have a brand or be a designer. That wasn't kind of my career aspiration at the time.
Sure.
And I went into a very kind of traditional route and business for a while until kind of I came back to where I am. But I really like, when I go back to why we're doing this, I don't think the world needs more clothes, if I'm being honest. There's a ton of clothes in the world, so it really needs to mean something and matter around, we're telling a story of heritage, we're doing something meaningful, we're supporting artisans, we're preserving craft. All of those things keep me going and make me want to create more. The clothes on their own is not really like that. It's not just fashion, I guess, for me.
Yeah, it's the larger narrative about supporting culture, supporting women from Saudi and from the Middle East. Yes, because that's the thing. Like, why build another brand? What's the point of having another brand? How do you differentiate yourself? And for you, it is really the supporting regional artisans, from what I understand.
Yeah, I came across these artisans at the time, and I was so incredibly impressed with the craftsmanship and the potential that it had. But unfortunately, at that time, it was very much seen as like a pity purchase that people, you know, come Ramadan, they would feel like, okay, let me buy something from an artisan. And we didn't have the sense of pride towards our own craftsmanship the same way we viewed potentially like Italian craftsmanship or French craftsmanship. And I really felt strongly about supporting and elevating what we had regionally, so that regionally we have a stronger sense of pride towards it, and globally they have a sense of connection to our culture that is, I think in today's world, that's what the global customer is looking for, right? More interesting stories, more interesting garments, because everything else kind of exists.
Exactly.
And so I really saw the potential there and wanted to create a business that benefited the entire value chain as a result of its existence. And so providing income for the artisans, the way we work with our suppliers, and all of that kind of value chain, including our employees. That's where I saw the potential, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna dig deep here.
I remember being so impressed by you when I came for the first time to Saudi Arabia in 2019, pre-COVID. You had your mission statement and your vision about what you wanted to tell in terms of a story for the brand. But also, I have to give credit where credit is due, because I was so impressed by the support of the Saudi government and the support of the Fashion Commission. Specifically, you were part of the first Saudi 100.
Yes.
But can you talk to me about what life was like for that brand? Granted, it was an early moment for your brand, but what life was like for your brand before the Saudi 100 and the Fashion Commission, and then after, because they were flying you to Milan, you were in New York. I mean, there was such a support system there. So, which is kind of almost unheard of for most fashion houses in most nations.
I think we are going through an incredible like renaissance when it comes to culture and art and all of it in Saudi. And I think the fashion specific kind of focus was something that a lot of brands and designers were longing for. So it was really incredible to see it recognized through its own commission that is there specifically to support the industry. And as you probably look back at the history of fashion in Saudi, you'll see that there is incredible designers that like went against all odds to create their designs when there was no support. And so now to see that kind of the support match the creativity has been incredible. And you see it then become such a catalyst to a lot of brands, including ours. And so it's been an incredible journey. We were part of the Saudi 100 since the beginning. And now we are fifth year in. It's an incredible program, I think, that we have in the region, for sure.
Talk to me about that shift, because when I first came to Saudi, there was such reticence and people were very nervous about, you're going to Saudi, will you be okay, yada, yada, which was such a...
So great that we don't have to explain that
anymore. Like, that is such old news now. But so talk to me about that shift. Like, what are the conversations you're having? You are the first Saudi brand to be on Net-a-Porter. You are, in major department stores in the UK and around the world. You had a pop-up in Paris, show during Paris Fashion Week. Talk to me about how the narrative about being a Saudi brand has changed?
Yeah, I find throughout my career, actually, whether now with Abadia or previously when I was in international development, that I've sort of in the different roles, maybe because I take unconventional paths in my life, I end up becoming kind of this unofficial ambassador to Saudi wherever I am, and I've grown to love the role. There was times in it when I'm like, why are you guys just read the news? Like your stereotypes are so stereotypical, and I really. I believe in this quote that Chimamanda Adichie once said, which is, the problem with stereotypes is not that they are untrue, is that they are incomplete. They make the one story become the only story. And I think that's a huge thing for me, is to showcase that Saudi is a diverse country with diverse backgrounds and diverse stories, and that's the beauty of it. And so be open to exploring, be open to seeing that. And I think it's a very different conversation that we're having today from like 5 years ago, and it brings me so much joy, because now when we go to Paris, it's not about like, ooh, this is too traditional. Oh, Saudi, do you cover? Do these kind of like super kind of surface level stereotype? Can you wear this in Saudi? This question, and you're like, of course we can.
Yeah.
Where now it's actually more of curiosity, of interest, of there's just like much more knowledge there that I think is really great. And we are, I think, as creatives, part of this kind of like ambassadorship that needs to educate. As I said in the beginning, I think like really clothes have the power to tell stories about where we are and where we come from. And, oh, that's a beautiful outfit. Like, oh, this is Sadu. What is Sadu? Like, it's like that kind of train is so natural when it comes to clothing and the interest there. And so I believe that's an important role.
Let's dive into Sadu, because again, it's such a traditional form of
weaving
and and embellishment. But from what I'm understanding, back in the day, like you mentioned earlier, this idea of it being very ethnic, but now it seems like it's actually become such a signature that people are asking for it.
Yeah.
So how has that shifted in the relationship to craftsmanship? Are people resonating with it in a different way now?
Yeah, I think so. If we look at the kind of history of Sadu is a weaving technique that is done on the loom by hand. These artisans used to make it to decorate their tents and to make the tent Beit Shar. And so obviously those don't exist anymore. And so the craftsmanship was dying. And it was kind of reduced to kind of these small little gifts and things that you can get, maybe a wallet, maybe a small piece that is done by hand. And my intention when I first saw it was to, one, build trust with the artisans that I value what you're working on, and I think you need to be celebrated for the work that you do, and preserve it and hopefully pass it on to the next generation. And then after building trust, starting to kind of co-create with them. And so now we start to suggest, can we use a different yarn than the yarn you used before? Maybe something softer that would work more in clothing. Can we change the color scheme? Can we play around a little bit with this while keeping the tradition? It's important for me to keep the craft alive, right? Which is the act of looming, and then the symbolism that's within it. And then within those parameters, we can then kind of experiment, and it's making heritage alive, right? Not just keeping it in the past.
Yeah, dated and dusty.
In a museum, and it's just like, this is what that's, I guess, like my goal with the work in Sadu. And now seeing the reaction of that, we have customers in Saudi, in the region, that if something doesn't have Sadu, they send it back requesting for us to add Sadu to it.
Wow.
And then going all the way to Paris and showing there, now our retailers are pulling a Sadu edit as part of their buy, and wanting to make sure that they include that, because it became kind of a very visual code of the brand, the Sadu itself, and then the stacking that we do alongside it. And so it makes me so happy, because again, at the end of the day, my goal was to provide sustainable income for these women. And the more that we can kind of create this economic incentive for them to continue to do the craft, the more that they will do it. And
how has that relationship evolved now? What have you seen in the shift in these women? I know you said you had to build trust, but do you have a tangible example of how something has shifted for these women that you've been working with for the last 7 years?
I think the biggest thing that has shifted for them is, one, the sense of pride that they feel about their work and how the community views them, because they are, income earners. They are also celebrated, not just through our work at Abadia, but also the work that the Ministry of Culture does around craftsmanship and celebrating the craftsmanship of our region. And then I think the thing that makes me so happy is when I hear them show it and teach it to their daughters, and their daughters be interested in it. I think that is how we keep craft alive, is passing it on to the next generation, and there's such beauty in that.
No, absolutely. Well, talking about craft and building and learning, tell me about what your design process is. Where is it? Is it the materials? Is it sketching? Is it mood boarding? What's your actual design process?
It's kind of like this and that. It's never linear. It's sometimes it's sparked with an idea. Sometimes it's a memory. Sometimes it's the fabric. It starts at different points. And I think what it comes down to it for me is that this emotional connection that I feel in the creation process. There's always a hint of nostalgia. There's always a hint of like heritage there. But then how do we bring it to today's world? I'm always thinking about our woman, what she looks like, what she cares for, what she wants to wear, how she wants to feel, while keeping in mind, now that we're 7 years in, these kind of consistent codes for Abadia that people love and care for, and started to become kind of these visual signature of the brand. So it's kind of a dance that we do in between that.
Touch points and moving it forward.
Yeah.
Well, about that, what I love about your brand and a number of regional brands, I don't know, are you now aligning yourself with seasons? Because I knew back in the day, you're like, I'm going to put it out. This is, episode 1 or whatever, chapter 1. How has the brand evolved in terms of the demands of being now an international global brand?
Honestly, I felt very strongly about this idea of collections as opposed to seasons at the time. And I think that comes from like a desire to create a product that feels timeless, and I don't want anything that feels like, oh well, that's SS24, and so that is old, and this is like fall winter 26, so that it's new. I think that's a problematic element of our industry. Having said that, the commercial side of the business definitely runs on certain cadence of deliveries and product. And we have to, if we're going to engage in wholesale, we have to kind of align with that cadence. But then work within it too. Like I'm, gently with some of our retailers, we're working about like, instead of one big season, like does it make sense to do a different drop in a different timeline? And as they learn who's the customer that's buying Abadia through them, and as we grow in our confidence of what the customer wants, we're having more of those conversations, and it feels like more collaborative as opposed to, okay, just like churn product like 4 times a year and that's it. And so there is that, and I'm very kind of conscious of how we move forward with it. But it's the reality of the industry.
Yeah, nature of the beast, for sure.
Yeah.
For you, I have to say that your rise of the brand, and you said you had become something of an ambassador. I think you're probably one of the most well-known internationally of the Saudi fashion brands. But it was a really meteoric, really fast pace. What were some of those quote-unquote teachable moments, things that those missteps perhaps that you made that you would love to make sure that future Saudi designers or future fashion designers maybe avoid because you went through it? Like, what were those kind of things that you were like, don't do this or learn from that? If you like this conversation, well, then you clearly have got good taste. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, and share the love. Because honestly, who wouldn't want a front row seat to fashion's best stories?
I think we were lucky in a way that we launched around COVID time. And so it forced us to be DTC in the beginning. There was no wholesale, like not, retailers were not at all, they were canceling their existing orders, let alone like onboarding new brands. And I think that is the biggest piece of advice that I often give to new brands is that direct to consumer is so important. It helps you understand your customer really well. It helps you, they're more forgiving in you figuring out your operations, your design, your sizing, your all of those kind of like important details that you need to figure out before you open up to a beast, which is wholesale, and suddenly be bound by these very strict rules that you need to operationally get after. And so I feel like looking back, I'm so grateful that we ended up starting COVID. It forced us to do that. We spent the first like couple of years really perfecting our designs, operations, understanding of the customer. So when it came time to open up to wholesale, and you remember when that sort of happened, we were ready for it.
Yeah.
And I think that's important because if you open up to wholesale and you're not ready for wholesale,
You get one shot.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that shot, because that was the call from Net-a-Porter, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
talk to me about that moment, because that's,
Yeah, it's so, I get goosebumps even thinking about it right now because we had a conversation.
Yep, I interviewed you, yeah.
You asked me as the interview, you said, what would be your dream retailer? And I said Net-a-Porter.
Yeah.
And within like the few weeks after that, we had been talking to them for a while. We keep sending them assets. Every time we go to market, they say thank you, but nothing had happened up until then. And Alison, who's the CEO, was visiting at the time to Dubai and got to see the collection in person. And that actually really moved the needle. And she loved the story. She insisted on coming to our small studio. I was like, I'll bring the collection to you.
Yes, your studio is tiny.
She's like, no, I'll come to you. And I'm like, I don't know if we're like ready. We were in a small, tiny space. And I
Back behind that mall.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was speaking to Hanan from my team yesterday. She was like, I was cleaning up my photos and I saw a photo of when we cleaned up the office for Alison's visit. And I was like, I want that photo because, it was such a moment. But she wanted to see it. She wanted to see our workspace. She wanted to see behind the scenes
Smart
of the brand
woman.
and was so interested in the story. And I really appreciated that because that I think to her resonated, that the story and what we're working on are our mood boards and our small little fabric pieces around. And so, that ended up opening the door to Net-a-Porter, and then the rest is history because they are,
Yeah, they are the behemoth. Yeah, no, I remember reaching out to her and giving her a nudge in your direction. So I thought, she's, quite a force of nature. So what are you curious or wanting to do at this point? I know that you have themes for each issue, and this the most recent one, which seems very timely. I think it's meditation.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
For the most recent. So talk to me about what are you looking forward to doing now? What's the next big hurdle that you on your bucket list of success for the brand?
I feel like we've gone through an incredible journey of growth, alhamdulillah, in the past few years. And it was with a lot of limitations in terms of team. I wore so many hats and it got to a point where it was time now to kind of hire and grow the team so that we can achieve the bigger goals that we have. So that's one thing I'm so excited about. And we started off the year with it, and growing the team is like bringing me so much joy. And I think that is one step into our direction of kind of growing the brand forward.
How is that for you? Because it's one thing for it to be your own baby and you're hands-on with everything. And part of that to letting go and let other people do, but also the hiring of people. Like, how are you finding the right fit for you? What are you looking for when you're...
It's not an easy process, and I take my time with it. I think, for example, we just brought on board Carly, who's our now COO, and I am so excited to have her on board. But I was interested in bringing a COO for over a year now. And so the profile didn't come across that was right. And so just putting the feelers out. And I was like, I'm patient. I'm going to wait until I find the right profile. And so it took time. But then my goal is to always be very slow in hiring so that we have the right people on board, because I hope that they will be with us for the long term. And so, yeah, it's been a journey, but we're finally cracking a little bit there. That it makes me so excited. We're also working on new product categories.
Oh, really?
And I guess now that I have kind of more support on the team side of things, I'm looking forward to stepping more into the creative direction of the brand and thinking about this universe and world of Abadia that I want to build beyond just the clothing. And so some big things working on there.
Okay,
and
watch
so,
this space.
Yes, and so that's really exciting for this year.
Is it in the fashions? Is it an extension of fashion? Or you? And for you, what was the choice was always to be, I hate the term, a quiet brand, but was that always very intentional that you wanted it to be something that felt, we mentioned this earlier about seasonless, but the quiet nature of it, there is something quite soothing about your brand. When you think about Abadia, if you close your eyes and you say, who is this woman? If Abadia wasn't a woman incarnate, who is this woman?
Yeah, I think that she's a very creative woman, one that loves storytelling and is interested in culture. She's a very curious woman, and I think grounded and authentic. And that's, I think, is my goal with every touch point we do with the brand. We are never going to grow for the sake of growth. It always has to be authentic and right to what we're building. And I think that's really kind of important, is this feeling of groundness. Yeah, this collection is about stillness and meditation, which was interesting because we worked on it 8 months ago. So to come at a time that we're all facing right now was just a serendipitous thing. But this kind of through line of feeling kind of grounded is something that is there for the brand, that I want to continue.
We've hinted and kind of tiptoed around this idea of sustainability. I believe also the production is all pretty much done here in Dubai. It seems like it's very intentional that you want it to stay regionally, and that's part of that is maybe the sustainability aspect, but maybe there's something else to it. Can you talk about that aspect of the brand?
So going back to my background, I came to the fashion world from international development, and I had studied business for both my undergrad and did my MBA. And when I was working on international development, Rana Plaza happened, the big factory collapse in Bangladesh, and it made a huge impact on me about the impact of clothing and how it's important that we engage. Me as a consumer, I wanted to engage with things that felt aligned with my values, and then that brands should be working on creating better value systems for their supply chains, etc. And so when it came time for Abadia, I was quite intentional about building a brand that is ethical, that stood for values beyond just like a checkpoint of like, is this organic cotton, or like things that felt like very surface level. I wanted things that felt super meaningful and deep. So every decision that we take, how does that impact our supply chain? How does it impact our employees? How does it impact the customer? Those are things that we think about very intentionally. And so it trickles down to everything that we do. Obviously, our work with the artisans is one big element of it. The production side is a huge element of it. We do about, I want to say 90 to 95% of our production is in Dubai. And that is there for multiple reasons. One, I love visiting our factories. I love seeing the product being created. I love that we can problem solve with them. I love knowing the conditions and everything and feel like comforted in those kind of relationships that we have with our suppliers. I also think it's a really big, important part of our mission is to give back to our economy and community. And so, however, how we benefit as Abadia, that trickles down to our local economy, both in Saudi and the UAE. That's really intentional. And so those are, I guess, the reasons behind like this production being local. And I understand that at some point there's going to be some specialization that we have to produce outside of that. But this intentionality will always remain that we produce certain things locally to be part of this ecosystem that's here locally.
We talked about the Saudi 100 brands and being a part of that. The evolution of Saudi fashion has just been extraordinary in the last decade.
Yeah.
Talk to me about, because I sadly wasn't able to make it Riyadh Fashion Week, and what that has done in terms of bringing awareness to Saudi, bringing awareness to your brand.
Yeah.
Because it looks stunning.
It's incredible. It's such an incredible platform. I think a lot of brands didn't even realize the power that it could create when it first started. I know for myself, I even didn't think of our Abadia as maybe a fashion show brand at the beginning. And so I didn't fully grasp it. But now, 3 years in, I see the impact. It's incredible platform for the designers to showcase. The talent is incredible. The energy in the space is really great. And every year it's becoming better and better, and internationally is getting a lot of attention and people paying close attention to it. And I see that every time that I am in Paris or London or Milan, like people mention Riyadh Fashion Week and they're so aware of it, which is, I think, a huge feat for the Fashion Commission, given that it's only 3 years in.
Yeah.
But even speaking with my colleagues in Saudi, like we start off the year, like it's our
North
kind of
Star.
anchor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like our North Star for the year. Like everybody's planning for Riyadh Fashion Week. And I think that's so exciting.
I want to ask you now a little bit about one of the things you said to me a while, that you wanted this to be a 100-year brand. Like you thought of this as a 100-year brand, that you wanted to live past you.
100%.
What pillars are you putting in place to make that happen?
Yeah, I think from the beginning, even when it came to naming Abadia, I was quite intentional that this is more than just Shahd. This is a mission and a vision that's bigger than me personally. And I wanted the name to reflect that, so it didn't have my name. It had a name that was connected to its mission. And then
Explain the name, though, for those who are listening who are maybe, in California and don't know it. But
so Abadia comes from two Arabic words, Al-Badia and Abadi. Al-Badia is a nod to heritage. It's the desert. And Abadi means timeless. It's also a nod to sustainability. And so the two words together make up the brand name. And I was quite motivated and excited about this idea of creating a legacy brand from our region. It never existed before, and I think we have such a unique point of view, such a strong message to give to the world, and that we can do it. And so in every decision, even from the beginning, like I always envisioned that this brand is going to be here for 100 years. So a brand that's going to be here for 100 years, what is it going to do today to get there? Is it going to engage in this activity or not? Is it going to act this way or not? That is always kind of my compass. Because sometimes, obviously, in an industry that lives on commerce, sometimes you might want to take shortcuts that are commercially maybe
for today,
but they do not build a 100-year brand. They do not build a legacy. And so I'm always kind of conscious of that and the balance between the two, because that's the end goal. And then operationally speaking, I mean, that's the important thing, right? It's not just about the vision and the creative. We need to have the operations behind it in order for it to grow in the way that it needs to grow and feel like, is a well-oiled machine, so to say. And so yeah, I think that's kind of the jump between my left and right side of the brains constantly to balance this idea that we're building a 100-year-old brand.
That's always in the back of your head. You're just thinking about that. One of the things that I really recommend when people ask me for advice is that you get a mentor. Who was your mentor? Did you have a mentor? Do you want a mentor? Talk to me a little bit about that.
This is actually one of the most incredible things about the Saudi 100 program that people don't often talk about, because obviously the visible part is Riyadh Fashion Week and Paris Fashion Week and those. But there's an incredible part of the program that is a mentorship side. And I think it has been the most instrumental into my journey in the past few years, because I've been exposed to incredible men and women that have really supported in, high level decision making, also getting into the details of things, supported when we're planning something in Paris, or when we're thinking about a big expansion, or we're talking to retailers and want to kind of understand like negotiation terms or things like that. And so I'm lucky to have a few of them in my court. And I think that is something I agree with you 100% is like number one, like find a mentor. It makes a big difference.
Who would you love to like sit down and have a coffee with right now at this point in your career, at this point in the brand? Is there somebody that you look to as, not that you want to emulate, but that you see the direction and the savviness of what they've done or are doing, and that you were like, I would love to have, sit and chat with you?
I do. Someone that comes immediately to mind is Tory Burch. And I think recently I've been thinking a lot about her. She spoke to the Saudi 100 program, by the way. And I think that I find her journey to be really impressive, both from the fact that she is both the creative director and the CEO of the company for the longest time, which is what the role that I'm taking, and understanding from her perspective what challenges she faced in growing it and being kind of the CEO hat, but also the creative direction. And then the reinvention that she's doing right now, years later for the brand is really inspiring. And so, she's the first one that comes to mind, I guess.
Okay, we're going to have to make that happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Queen Rania has worn your brand. The brand has been at Paris Fashion Week. It's been carried by Net-a-Porter. At what point do you stop looking for validation from the rest of the world, or are you still looking for validation? Have you hit all of those benchmarks? Do you feel like how do I want to put this? Do you feel like you've made it? It's such a bad term to say, but have you made it?
I wouldn't say we've made it, but I'm very proud of everything that we've accomplished so far. We're definitely on track in a lot of things. And I think we are, I hope, inspiring and showcasing the potential for a lot of regional brands of what you could possibly do. I think what we've done at Abadia is like walk this fine line between resonating very well with a regional audience while as well resonating with a global one. And how
do you think that works? How were you able to thread that needle? Because it's really very difficult.
It is. It's a very difficult line to walk, but I think it goes back to the creative process and thinking about the woman and really kind of coming down to that and understanding that first and foremost, the regional audience is top of mind for me. The Saudi women and the Emirati women, the Kuwaiti, the Qataris, like those are a huge inspiration for me. And I want them, the reason we started Abadia is I wanted them to wear something that felt that it belonged to them and their heritage and they were feeling proud of, but also something that represented the fact that they live in a modern world today. And so that is the first thing to kind of crack. And then seeing that resonate with an international audience is really beautiful. I don't think we have to change it suddenly or make it or dilute it. You don't have to
adapt or dilute to for the Western world.
I don't think we have to. And I think that's the thing that we've kind of showcased through our work is that we don't need to dilute it. It's actually so beautiful and so interesting and so different. And the global customers looking for those kind of stories and interesting point of views. And then I think it comes down to obviously like taste, cut, fabric, like details that are there that are quite unique to us that kind of bridge that gap as well. And so, I think that's the fine line that we've been able to walk. And I think it's an important one for us. That's like really thinking about that woman.
I'm going to ask you this question, but I also am going to be asking men this question. You have two small kids. You're CEO and the creative force behind the brand. Talk to me about work-life balance. How are you doing it? And I'm again asking the men as well going forward. I feel like this should be a question.
Important disclaimer.
Yes, asking for everybody, not just the ladies in the room. But that's what I always say. Like give a woman who has too much to do the job and she'll get it done. It always feels like that we're always able to add on. But talk to me about what are your non-negotiables in terms of that aspect of it?
I think one thing that kind of like really kind of clicked within me after having my first son, Rashid, is like this level of efficiency and non-compromise. Like I'm so focused in certain things. And I've learned now that they are two boys with a lot of energy, and then my third baby is Abadia, is to be as much as I can single-minded when I am doing something. So when I'm with the kids, I'm fully with the kids. When I am at work, I'm fully in that moment. If it's a design meeting, I'm fully in that design meeting. If it's a production meeting, I'm fully in that production meeting. And I think a huge part of actually our superpower as women is that we can multitask, but it's also what exhausts us the most. And so I try to kind of like compartmentalize my work, and it takes a village. I'm able to do this, and I'm able to travel and, be engaged in all of these business things that I need to do because I have a village behind me that's supporting. I have a very supportive husband, I have an incredibly supportive mother. And so that I don't want to be kind of like rosy about what it takes.
I do it all.
Like, yeah, I don't. And I have this incredible ecosystem behind me and around me that is like there to support. Similarly in Abadia, like it's a team. It's a huge team effort. It's not just Shahd doing work every day. And so I think it's about finding those systems that work for you and like.
That's interesting that your mom or your mother-in-law?
My mom.
Your mom and your
And
husband
my mother-in-law,
and your mother-in-law. Yeah, props to mother-in-laws out there. Mine as well has saved me multiple times when I had my kids were small. When you made that shift back in the day from, I think it was you were doing a program called Just, was that right? When you decided, okay, this is not what I want to do, because it was tech and more, cerebral to go into fashion. How did your entourage or your family and friends react to that shift? Because it's a 180.
Yeah. My husband was super supportive. He always kind of saw that I had that creativity in me, and my mother as well, because I come from a household where my aunt, who's my mother's sister, who's like my second mother, is an incredible creative. I grew up around her, learned like the love of fabric and details and artisanal love through what she does. And so it wasn't a surprise, but they also bought into the vision, and they saw and could feel, I think, that I wasn't just doing this to just make clothes, as I said in the beginning, that this was a lot bigger.
Because there could be a lot of vanity projects out there. Yeah. I mean, in the region and internationally, there are a lot of, fashion brands that are just quite vanity projects. Yeah.
And so they could see that this was much bigger than that, and that I had a bigger picture, and that I was super focused and business oriented about it, which I think this is part of my journey that I'm lucky with, is that I was business first and then kind of did this 180. So I kind of have that foundation. So yeah, they were quite supportive from the beginning, and my biggest champion ever since. And I'm so grateful to have them. I remember when we had the Paris Fashion Week dinner, my husband flew in literally for 24 hours just to be there. And I, like those moments, like I don't take them for granted at all.
You were nonstop. That's one of the reasons why it took us so long to get this podcast on the books.
Yeah.
What do you do to refill your creative well? What is that thing that you're able to go and do that and then come back refreshed and replenished?
Yeah, I think it was something before kids, and it's different now. there's less, back in the day I could say like, I would go on like a beach holiday for like a few days, and it's like, no, now I need to maximize between that and obviously kids' time.
Now it's a long shower.
Exactly. Sometimes it is. And I get the best ideas in the shower.
Me too. The shower, it's the only time I'm not on my phone. So like the shower is it. Yeah.
It really is. But I do love, like, nature plays a huge role in me feeling like grounded and things slowing down mentally for me. I love a long like day at the library. Love a long day at the
Really?
library. I could spend like 5 hours and like forget about time.
Are you just like roaming the aisles, or are you sitting down with like a nonfiction? What's
I'm
the
roaming the aisles, like picking up books that are in very odd sections and looking at them. I even do that when we're on vacation. We were recently in Spain, and my husband was like, "But all the books are in Spanish or Catalan." I'm like, "I know, but I like still find it quite therapeutic to be in an environment like a library where it's so quiet, surrounded by books." So those I would say are my two things.
Oh, I love that.
And a nice long shower.
And a nice long shower. Yeah, don't knock it. Those are the best. Let's talk a little bit about some nitty-gritty things, again, circling back for smaller brands that are maybe starting, the choices that you make. I mean, where are you in terms of how much energy are you putting into the social media aspect of it? How much energy is it into, building out a team? Like when do you decide, okay, now it's time for us to do a fashion show as opposed to spending more time maybe with smaller trunk shows? Like what are kind of those early stepping stones that you need to be really careful that you build that strong foundation?
Yeah.
What for you are those things?
I think we need always start small and then grow from there because one, this industry is very cash intensive and is one that you need to test and understand your customer before you kind of grow into it. You obviously, I think as a small brand, you could like sit there on social media and see like these huge big activations of the global brands, but you need to remember these brands have been there for hundreds of years. Their budgets are insane.
Yeah.
The system that they've ran for like many, many, many years. And so I think sometimes it can feel overwhelming when you're a just starting brand, and it's reminding them to be kind of grounded of like, what do you need now and your community around you? I think that's really important. For me personally, in terms of like what I spend my energy on, we always have a feedback loop, I guess, in the team in terms of understanding strategy and what's is working, reviewing what we did, and then coming back and thinking about what do we do next. And I think that's the beauty of being a smaller brand that's independent, that you're more agile and can, switch up based on what's happening around you. But we always have a greater picture of the year as well. So it's like big picture and then kind of 3 months.
Micro and macro.
Yeah, and then kind of with some flexibility in between them. I think that's important. And I'm learning to be super patient because I think as many entrepreneurs in the beginning, you're so impatient when it comes to like, I want all of it to work now. And it's like never that way. And it's about incremental growth. So if your social media is here and you're not going to, it's not going to all work out, even if it's your system. Sometimes it's like what's frustrating to me is like the systems behind things is like, I want our systems to be better. It's okay. It's just about incremental movement 1 month over the next. And are we getting better at, approvals and this and that? And so
Step by step.
one step in front of the other, and then slowly getting there, I think, and patience, which I know is hard for entrepreneurs.
Very, very hard for entrepreneurs. So what's exciting you right now? What's fascinating you right now? And like you said about looking at books in a bookstore or in a library that you don't speak the language. Are you curious about AI? Are you curious about a new technique that you discovered while you were in Spain? What's the thing that you're kind of like, I want to investigate this a little bit more?
So I think one of the things, a theme that I've been thinking about a lot recently is this connection between cultures that's almost unspoken of, and that's there when you like dig deeper into stories and you dig deeper into techniques and you like look a little bit and think, I guess, of the time that these techniques existed and were created. We didn't have a connection. We didn't have social media to take a photo of it and show it. And so that connection is a lot more visceral, is a lot more human. And I'm so curious about craft and how they connect us as humans, and seeing techniques that are suddenly, in Peru, a very similar technique that's something that's done in Saudi. And, they have their own ways of doing it, but it's like kind of so...
The DNA
is there.
Yeah.
And then even within the region, we have very similar techniques. We call them different names, but they exist all the way from Lebanon to Egypt to Saudi to Qatar to Kuwait. And so that craft connection is something that is super fascinating to me and something that I'm thinking about a lot recently.
Okay. Want to circle back to your boys. How are they experiencing what you do? Do they understand what you do? Are they involved with? Are they giving you sketches for their own outfits?
Rashid loves it because so my eldest is Rashid. He's almost 7, and Yusuf is 3. Rashid very much understands it because he's seen it. He was with me in the office from the beginning, and he loves it. He loves the cover of Harbors that we did together.
Really?
It's his favorite book.
I mean,
he's always looking at it, and he's like, "This is my mom," and he takes it to school sometimes with him. He's been to Riyadh Fashion Week and saw the show live. So he very much understands it. He wants me to make him a lion costume. That's his goal.
Okay.
What he wants out of us. And I'm like, that's not really what we do, but sure. Yusuf is younger and he gets it. He's also been in office and has given some advice on fabrics one time. They both, I think a lot as a working mom, it's natural to have a experience of guilt. Like that's something that will come up regardless, but I see it through them how much they're inspired by seeing me like really focus on my goals and do it, especially Rashid since he's more aware. And so yeah, they're huge supporters and they love it.
That's so great to hear. Yeah, I had the same. I had my daughters would come with me to fashion weeks and sit on my lap in the front row and watch the Valentino show or this, that, and the other. Yeah, no, for sure.
It really is. It's a special bond, I think, when they get to experience your work with you, for sure.
So now comes my favorite part. Well, I mean, I like to do this with each of my guests. I ask these 5 classic fashion questions.
Okay.
So the first one that I want to ask you is, what is your most prized possession? What is that one thing that if you were running out of a burning building and you would take it with you, what would be that one thing that you would make sure you had with you?
A farwa that my aunt made me for my wedding.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
As you work in luxury, and luxury pieces are getting more and more expensive, and a lot of the world can't afford to buy luxury, even if it is buy less but better.
Yeah.
But if there was one piece that you think a man or woman should really save up their pennies and own a quality piece, what would that quality piece be that you think that every person should have that?
I think if you were to save up to something, probably like a suiting, like a jacket, a blazer.
Something tailored to you?
Something tailored to you that like fits your body perfectly. I think that would be because
there's nothing like that. I mean, it really, it's extraordinary when when it's not off the rack and it moves with your body. Yeah.
Exactly.
100%.
Yeah.
What trend will you never follow?
I'm not a very trend person.
Yeah, fair.
Generally. But what trend would never follow? Oh, yesterday we were talking about capri pants. I just don't think they would fit me. They don't fit my body. So I was like, I don't think I would. They're so trendy right now, but I don't think I'll participate.
Yeah, same. Agreed. I'll go with you on that.
Can't do that.
Yeah, no, my calves could never do that. No, at no point in my life. Okay, so I'm very curious about your answer for this one. Who is your favorite fashion designer, living or dead?
Ooh, I'm very, very, very inspired and appreciate Phoebe Philo. I think she is incredibly talented and thinking about how her work has inspired a lot of people, whether generations of fashion, whether directly or indirectly. But I have a lot of favorite designers currently that are alive. And then I think some of the greats, obviously, that have like made an impact on the world, like Tom Ford, Calvin Klein. Did you watch the show?
You're talking about Love Story?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, girl. Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, it took me back.
I know, and I felt, I mean, he didn't come off in a very good light in it, but actually thinking about that era, the impact of his creative vision, and how even now people are going back to the 90s, and it's
90s.
like it's Calvin.
Yeah.
It's always been Calvin.
Always, he was the harbinger of minimalism. I mean, very much so. And it's so interesting to see this younger generation. You know, because you get that decade when you get a new set of designers coming in, and their youth decade is what you get reference in their designs.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's also the challenge. One of the things that Susie Menkes said to me, that most designers have about a decade of creativity, and then after that, it becomes an iterations of what they've done before. So it's quite interesting to see. Yeah, it's clock. You're at 7 years, so you got 3 more years. You got 3 more years to go. But yeah, no. And then I think when it's so interesting, your first touch point there was Phoebe Philo, and when I can see a correlation with you is that she's really seems to be doing her fashion on her own terms. Like she left the industry, came back on her own terms, doing the drops as she see fit. And I think that that's definitely somebody to admire.
Very inspiring.
Yeah, for sure. All right, last question. What do you love most about fashion?
I love how it makes you feel, and the confidence it can give people when they put on the right outfit. I think that is really powerful. Part of fashion is how it makes people feel.
Well, your fashion, your designs definitely make women feel confident. So thank you so much. And thank you so much for being here. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad we were able to finally do it. It's such a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you,
Always
Jessica.
wonderful talking with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.